How to Be Happy, Adler's Recipe for Satisfaction. Introduction. Happiness? Seriously? The modern pursuit of happiness is truly a fascinating phenomenon. We're all looking for it, right? Usually with a latte in one hand and a paralyzing sense of inadequacy in the other. We scroll through social media, compare ourselves to others' perfect lives, manifest abundance, and yet joy always seems just out of reach, like the last slice of pizza on a diet. We're told to find our bliss, live our best life, and manifest abundance, but often ends up manifesting more anxiety and credit card debt. What's commonly touted as a path to happiness often leads to frustration and a constant feeling that something is wrong. But before you start rolling your eyes at the thought of another positive thinking guru, it's worth getting to know Alfred Adler. This man, unlike some of his contemporaries who obsessively analyze childhood hygiene habits, focus on practical and useful psychology. Adler didn't tell you to lie on a couch for 20 years. His goal was for you to get off that couch and start acting. He had a recipe for satisfaction, and interestingly, it's surprisingly simple, though uncomfortable for the ego. His approach, known for its clear common sense, was the first holistic theory of personality and psychotherapy, closely linked to a humanistic philosophy of life. Adler emphasized the importance of cooperation and a sense of belonging among people. Adler's approach, characterized by common sense and practical application, clearly differs from the often esoteric and overly complicated landscape of modern self-help. His focus on action and a present/future orientation positions him as a pragmatic alternative to endless introspection without change. This creates a kind of humorous contrast, as it's a no-nonsense approach in a world full of nonsense. Most people have their own secret recipe for happiness. Unfortunately, it's often a recipe for disaster. If your current strategy for happiness involves buying more stuff, getting more likes online, or constantly proving you're better than your neighbor with the perfectly manicured lawn, then congratulations. You're probably doing it wrong. But there's no need to worry. There's an alternative, the Adlerian alternative. It's less about chasing fleeting highs and more about building solid, satisfying foundations for life. Think of it as psychological composting, turning your internal garbage into fertile soil for genuine joy. Adler believed that the fundamental human desire and goal is belonging and a sense of significance. This is a fundamental driving force behind all behavior. When these needs are not met in a healthy way, people develop mistaken goals or private logic, compensating with feelings of inferiority or superiority. This, in turn, can lead to social disconnection. The aforementioned pursuits of likes or material possessions are modern examples of these maladaptive compensations, driven by a mistaken striving for an external sense of significance. As a result, instead of leading to happiness, such actions often create a philosophical homeostasis, where new anxieties simply replace old ones, leading to continuous dissatisfaction. If your recipe for happiness relies on external validation or absolute control, it's an endless chase after a moving target. The Adlerian approach, focusing on internal changes and challenging mistaken beliefs, offers a way out of this vicious cycle by addressing the underlying belief systems that perpetuate dissatisfaction. Chapter 1. The Purpose of Emotions, Your Inner Alarm. Most people treat unpleasant emotions like an annoying pop-up ad that just won't go away. You try to ignore them, scroll past them, or drown them in ice cream. But what if I told you that boredom, sadness, and even simmering rage aren't random acts of emotional terrorism? They are, in fact, highly sophisticated internal alarm systems. Think of them as your personal, albeit often dramatic, GPS, try to reroute you from going nowhere. Adlerian psychology views emotions as purposeful tools, strategic tools that you use to achieve specific goals. Emotions are not merely automatic reactions, but serve a certain purpose. They are signals regarding goals or survival. The teleological approach of Adlerian therapy emphasizes that behavior, including emotions, is goal-directed, not just a result of past causes. The common perception of emotions, especially negative ones, often boils down to suppressing or avoiding them. However, Adler's concept of teleology fundamentally changes his perception, asserting that all behaviors, including emotions, are purposeful and aim at achieving some goal. This means emotions are not random. They serve a specific function. For example, boredom is not just a state. It's a signal that your current activity isn't aligning with your need for stimulation or purpose. Sadness isn't just pain. It might signal loss, an unmet need for connection, or desire for change or relationship. It's about asking, what is this feeling? Rather than why am I feeling this? So, how do you decipher this enigmatic language of emotions? It's like learning to interpret the dashboard lights in a car, only instead of low tire pressure, it's low life purpose. For instance, that overwhelming boredom you feel during a Monday meeting, that's not just a meeting. It's a siren call for a need for challenge, creativity, or maybe just a different job. That persistent sadness, it might be screaming for a need for connection, to process a loss, or for a change or relationship that no longer serves you. It's about asking, what is this feeling for, rather than why am I feeling this? Emotions are functional, not just problematic. Irritation or anger, for example, can be a clue to a mistaken goal, such as striving for undue attention. Anger can signal a need to defend yourself or set boundaries, and guilt or shame can prompt self-evaluation and taking responsibility. Anxiety often signals a perceived threat or a desire for control and predictability. Unmet needs for belonging and significance can lead to feelings of inferiority, anxiety, or depression. The research materials provide concrete examples of what specific emotions do or signal. Boredom and sadness are generally unpleasant, indicating a lack of engagement, purpose, or connection. Anger aims to assert, set boundaries, or defend one's needs. Guilt and shame prompt evaluation of choices against a moral compass, taking responsibility and making better choices in the future. Anxiety signals a perceived threat or fear of rejection, often linked to unmet needs for belonging and significance. By understanding these specific signals, people can move from reactive emotional states to proactive problem solving, which is consistent with Adler's goal-oriented approach. This allows for a conscious response rather than an impulsive one. Here are emotions as signals of unmet needs, offering a practical framework for immediate application of this concept. Emotion, boredom, Potential signal/unmet need. Lack of stimulation, purpose, engagement. Adlerian interpretation/purpose. Something needs a change in my activity. I'm looking for meaning. What to do? Look for a new hobby, a challenge. Get involved in something meaningful. Find a purpose. Emotion, sadness. Potential signal/unmet need. Loss, unmet need for connection, need to process. Adlerian interpretation/purpose. I need support or time for reflection. I'm looking for a sense of belonging. What to do? Allow yourself to feel, seek social support, give yourself time to process. Emotion, anger. Potential signal/unmet need. Need to defend oneself. Set boundaries. Feeling of injustice. Adlerian interpretation/purpose. I want to be taken seriously. My boundaries have been violated. What to do? Understand the cause of anger, then calmly and assertively express your needs or set boundaries. Emotion, anxiety. Potential signal/unmet need. Feeling threatened, lack of control, fear of rejection. Adlerian interpretation/purpose. My logic is faulty. I'm afraid of uncertainty. I need a sense of security. What to do? Identify what is within your control and what is not. Focus on the present. Challenge catastrophic thoughts. Emotion, guilt/shame. Potential signal/unmet need. Need for alignment with values, responsibility, correcting a mistake. Adlerian interpretation/purpose. I want to correct a mistake and act better. My actions are not aligned with my values. What to do? Evaluate your choices. Take responsibility. Apologize if necessary, and take steps to improve in the future. Chapter 2. Lifestyles. Why are you sabotaging your own joy? Now, let's move on to your life plan. Adler called it your lifestyle. Essentially, it's a unique set of beliefs and strategies each of us developed in childhood to navigate the world. For many of us, that recipe includes a generous portion of, I must control everything. Because, surely, if everything is perfectly organized, nothing can go wrong, right? Wrong. This private logic, may its anxious heart rest in peace, is often the biggest saboteur of joy. It's like try to conduct an orchestra with a hammer. You might get some sound, but it certainly won't be harmonious, and it certainly won't be happy. Lifestyle is a deeply ingrained cognitive schema that forms in childhood and constitutes an individual's private logic. This private logic influences attitudes, behaviors, and how one perceives oneself, others, and the world. The desire for absolute control, only if I have everything under control, is a manifestation of a mistaken goal or a number one priority. It often stems from feelings of inferiority and a striving for security. Over-reliance on this private logic leads to distorted perceptions and maladaptive behaviors, causing significant unnecessary distress. This creates anxiety when life becomes unpredictable. Happiness is not about having control over everything, but about letting go of the need for absolute control and challenging the underlying beliefs that demand it. This requires recognizing that our subjective interpretation of reality, our private logic, may be flawed. And speaking of control, let's talk about its evil twin, perfectionism. You know, that little voice that whispers, if it's not perfect, it's worthless. That's not striving for excellence. That's chasing an impossible ghost. Perfectionists, according to Adler, often compensate for deeply rooted feelings of inferiority. They believe their worth is tied to flawless performance, which is, frankly, exhausting. It kills spontaneity, breeds anxiety, and turns every achievement into a new source of dread. Because if you're perfect, what's next? More perfection, of course. It's a hamster wheel of misery. Perfectionism is directly linked to the inferiority complex. It is a compensatory mechanism aimed at hiding perceived weaknesses. This striving for flawlessness creates immense pressure and sabotages relationships by fostering criticism, fear of vulnerability, and hindering intimacy. It is a Sisyphean task because perfection is unattainable. This rigid way of thinking burdens relationships, making partners feel under constant scrutiny or inadequate, leading to resentment. True worth is not earned through perfection. It is inherent. Overcoming perfectionism requires the courage to be imperfect. So, how do you break free from these self-imposed prisons? Adler had a brilliant, slightly cheeky technique. Act as if you already are. No, this doesn't mean you pretend to be a billionaire on a yacht, unless that helps. It means acting as if you already possess the confidence, social ease, the courage you desire. If rejection terrifies you, act as if you are a confident person who knows their worth, regardless of the outcome. How would such a person walk? Talk? What would they do? And then do it. It's not about faking it. It's about trying on a new reality, a new lifestyle, until it starts to fit. The act as if you already are principle is a direct application of Adlerian teleology. It focuses on the goal, the desired person, not the cause of current limitations. It's a practical way to challenge faulty logic and replace negative self-beliefs. The reflecting as if RAI process adds a crucial layer of conscious planning and incremental success, making the technique less daunting and more effective in building genuine self-confidence. By pretending, people enact alternative or preferred outcomes, which can restore oppressive aspects of their personal meta-narrative. This means that changing behavior can, over time, change underlying beliefs and self-perception. Starting with the least difficult behaviors increases client success potential and builds perceived self-efficacy, which is crucial in overcoming discouragement. This technique highlights Adler's optimistic view that individuals are self-determining and creative, and can actively change their personality and destiny, rather than being victims of the past. It's about changing your inner narrative by changing your outer actions. Chapter 3, Social Interest, Your Natural Dopamine Kick. All right, let's get to the good stuff. You want happiness? Forget endless self-improvement. Adler's secret sauce, the real dopamine kick, is something he called social interest or Gemeinschaftsgefühl, if you want to sound smart. It's not just about being a good person. It's about realizing that your well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of others. It's the ultimate win-win situation. You help someone, and your brain throws a party. Who needs expensive therapy when you can get a natural high by helping your neighbor carry groceries? Social interest, Gemeinschaftsgefühl, is considered the sole criterion of mental health in Adlerian theory. It is a capacity for cooperation and social living, which can be developed. It involves cooperation, contribution, understanding others, and empathy toward them. It's about finding meaning and purpose beyond oneself, transcending egocentric preoccupations. Adler's assertion that social interest is the sole criterion of mental health is a profound, counterintuitive insight in individualistic societies. It means that true well-being is inherently relational. The selfish benefit comes from the helper's high phenomenon. The neurochemical rewards, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, that make helping feel good. It's not just a moral imperative. It's biologically rewarding. This contradicts the common belief that selfishness and altruism are mutually exclusive. Adler and research on the helper's high suggests they are deeply intertwined and mutually reinforcing. Engaging in social interest and cooperation leads to the release of neurochemicals, which in turn causes feelings of well-being, purpose, stress reduction, strengthens social bonds, and improves self-esteem, ultimately increasing happiness and life satisfaction. This reframes giving not just as a moral obligation, but as a powerful act of receiving personal well-being and fulfillment. It suggests that our biology is wired for connection and contribution. So what happens in your brain when you help someone? It's not just warm fuzzies. We're talking about a neurochemical cocktail of happiness. Endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, kick in. Dopamine, the reward neurotransmitter, gives you that satisfying pang. And oxytocin, the love hormone, floods your system, making you feel connected and warm. It's like your brain is saying, "Good job, human. Here's some happy chemicals for not being a total jerk." Research clearly points to specific neurochemicals, endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, involved in the helper's high. This provides a scientific basis for Adler's more philosophical concept of social interest. Dopamine's role in the brain's reward system means that helping others is literally rewarding, creating a positive feedback loop that encourages further prosocial behavior. Oxytocin's role in bonding and stress reduction further explains the psychological benefits beyond just a high. Prosocial behaviors lead to the release of neurochemicals, which in turn lead to positive feelings and reinforcement, and consequently to an increased likelihood of future prosocial behaviors. This implies that social interest is not just a moral choice, but a fundamental human need for well-being. So, how do you get your daily dose of this neurochemical goodness without becoming, say, a full-time humanitarian? It's simpler than you think. Offer to help a colleague with a project, even if it's not your job. Hold a door for someone. Give a genuine compliment. Share your knowledge. Volunteer online for an hour. Even just truly listening to someone with empathy is an act of social interest. It's about small, consistent act of connection, not grand gestures for social media points. Social interest can be nurtured and developed throughout life. It involves giving and taking. Practical ways include engaging in community activities, volunteering, developing empathy, and promoting equality and cooperation. Direct contact is important for full effect. Examples of activities for couples that build connection and cooperation include shared hobbies, listening, asking meaningful questions, and "I appreciate you for" affirmations. Empathy involves seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. Happiness is accessible through daily interactions, making it less daunting and more achievable. This shifts the focus from external achievements to internal states derived from connection. Chapter 4, Daily Encouragement, Your Happiness Ritual. Now, for the grand finale of Adler's happiness recipe, daily encouragement. This isn't some cheesy affirmation you don't believe. This is about actively countering that inner critic that's probably been running marathons in your head since childhood. The proposal? A simple, yet incredibly powerful ritual. Every evening, before your brain starts replaying all your embarrassing moments, list 3 things you're grateful for today and 3 things you congratulate yourself for today. Yes, you heard that right. Congratulate yourself for existing, for trying, for not setting the kitchen on fire. Encouragement is a key feature of Adlerian therapy. Its goal is to instill courage and confidence, focusing on modifying motivation, not just behavior. It involves valuing people as they are, focusing on their strengths, efforts, and progress, and expressing affirmation and appreciation. This helps overcome feelings of inferiority and discouragement. Discouragement is a key factor leading to maladaptive behaviors, often stemming from feelings of inferiority. Encouragement is Adler's primary intervention. It's not about superficial praise, but about building inner resources and courage towards positive movement, focusing on effort and progress, not just the outcome, and distinguishing between what they do and who they are, directly counters the perfectionist belief that worth is tied to flawless performance. Consistent self-encouragement leads to increased courage, confidence, and self-worth, regardless of perfection, and consequently to positive movement and happiness. This ritual is a practical, daily application of Adler's humanistic view, promoting self-acceptance and a positive self-image, which is a dimension of encouragement as an individual's way of being. This isn't just some fluffy, feel-good exercise. Adlerian psychology posits that when we feel encouraged, we feel capable and appreciated. It's about recognizing inherent worth, not just outcomes. It's about focusing on effort and progress, not just a final result. Because, let's be honest, life is messy. There will be stumbles. But if you can still look at yourself and say, "Hey, I tried," and that counts, you're building a psychological fortress against discouragement. It's about being your own best cheerleader. Because, frankly, waiting for external validation is a full-time job with no benefits. Encouragement accepts, trusts, and frees people to be okay as they are, mistakes and all. It conveys hope and a never-give-up spirit. It focuses on efforts and progress, not the final outcome. It helps distinguish what they do and who they are. Mutual trust and respect are basic principles. Self-worth should not depend on external achievements. This ritual directly challenges a life lie that my worth is determined by my achievements and the perfectionist fear being not good enough. By focusing on self-congratulation and gratitude for effort and being, it shifts the source of validation from external, which is unreliable and exhausting, to internal, the emphasis on effort and incremental growth, not final outcome, builds resilience, allowing you to cope with setbacks without falling into discouragement. This leads to increased resilience and a stable sense of self-worth, and consequently to greater happiness regardless of external circumstances. So what does this look like in practice? Today, I'm grateful for that absurdly strong coffee that prevented a workplace incident, and for my cat finally acknowledging my existence. And for congratulations, I congratulate myself on not hitting snooze 5 times, for sending that awkward email I was dreading, and for resisting the urge to correct a stranger's grammar online. It's about finding the small victories, the daily efforts, and giving yourself credit where credit is due. No, you don't have to post it on Instagram. This is for you. Here are practical, modern examples for your daily encouragement ritual, making it more accessible and effective. Category: work. I'm grateful for a successful presentation, quickly solving a problem, constructive feedback. I congratulate myself for the courage to make a decision, meeting a deadline, asking for help. Category: relationships. I'm grateful for a supportive conversation with a friend, a smile from a stranger, patience with loved ones. I congratulate myself for listening to my partner without interrupting, expressing my needs, forgiving a small slip-up. Category: personal growth. I'm grateful for learning something new, perseverance in exercise, reading a few pages of a book. I congratulate myself for getting out of bed before the alarm, doing one more rep, reflecting on my emotions. Category: daily challenges. I'm grateful for the coffee that saved my morning, finding a parking spot, not overwatering my plants. I congratulate myself for surviving Monday, managing irritation in traffic, sending that difficult email. Category: other. I'm grateful for the sunshine, my favorite song on the radio, my cat not ignoring me. I congratulate myself for not commenting on an online typo, remembering to turn off the iron, just being here at all. Conclusion: your imperfect recipe for happiness. There it is, your Adlerian recipe for satisfaction. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about embracing imperfection. It's about listening to your emotions, not suppressing them. It's about understanding that your happiness isn't a solo performance. It's a team sport. And it's about patting yourself on the back, even if you feel like you barely crawled across the finish line. This isn't a magic pill. It's a lifestyle adjustment. It requires effort, self-awareness, and a willingness to be a little uncomfortable. But unlike those trendy diets that promise quick fixes and deliver only disappointment, this recipe offers something truly lasting, a genuine sense of belonging, purpose, and the courage to be your imperfect, wonderfully you self. Happiness is rooted in meaning and social connections. It involves overcoming inferiority and developing a sense of belonging. The goal is to replace exaggerated self-protection, self-enhancement, and self-indulgence with courageous social contribution. Courage is the willingness to act even in the face of fear. The courage to be imperfect is a key dimension of encouragement. True happiness is not about achieving a flawless state, but about embracing human imperfections while striving for social contribution and belonging. So go forth, decode your emotions, fire your inner control freak, Be a good human, and then, for goodness sake, give yourself a high five. You've earned it.